Hail Internet, it's Paul, it's Matt, the Dork Lords. We're here talking about the future of the DCEU. A lot of information's come out in the last week or so, and it seems there's actually be more information forthcoming in January, but there's a lot to talk about regarding the direction of the DCEU. Real quickly, back in November, Black Adam came out. There was a post-credit scene involving Henry Cavill's Superman. Henry Cavill tweeted out that basically Superman is back, and that seemed to be where things were headed. Then we got an announcement that the DCU is now under the creative control of James Gunn and Peter Safran, which collectively they should just call themselves Peter Gunn. Am I wrong? No, just do that. Anyway, okay. Right, exactly. They have a little theme song and everything. But effectively, James Gunn is now the Kevin Feige of the DCEU. I have more to talk about there, but I thought I would. I'll open up the floor to you, Paul. What are your general thoughts on the nature of the DCEU at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, people could have guessed that we said before that when it was announced that it was a good thing.
Yep.
That we were in favor of it.
Right. We were just talking about James Gunn in relation to the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday thing, and and he's going to do Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and that'll be his last hurrah, and then he'll move on to the DCU.
And so now that decisions are being made, he's doing his best to try to tamp down some of the anguish, but people still are going to anguish. Haters going to hate.
Yep.
But I'm willing to see his vision. So if they recast every single person that we've ever seen in there, I'm fine with it. People can get upset because they get attached to these
you get attached to characters
actors or whatever. Yeah, but I think we need a new course. So I'm perfectly fine with I'm willing to see what he's what he's going to announce.
I agree. I can understand why people might be, because it seemed fairly sudden of suddenly like, oh wow, okay, wait,
yes,
these characters are no longer, or these actors, I should say, are no longer going to be,
yes,
portraying these roles. And so, yeah, I can imagine that people would be like, whoa. I enjoy Henry Cavill's depiction of Superman.
Yeah.
But I get it.
When I ever talked about those movies, I didn't blame him.
Right, exactly. But that said, Batman v Superman,
yeah,
that movie is not
really
good.
Bad.
And,
no.
So yeah, you can understand.
And I think you could definitely argue that, while you might think, Superman is a difficult character, so I, can't completely blame the makers of Man of Steel for trying to, have a grittier Superman that would kill his opponent.
Next snap.
I think it's fair to question if that's really the image of Superman that works the best. It makes me think of Captain America. Actually, some people, Joss Whedon among them, thought, okay, he's supposed to be pure and good, and therefore he's kind of an old fogey, and he's and thankfully the Russo brothers took him on with Winter Soldier, and then Civil War, and then all the other ones that they did, where you could see someone who could be sincere and pure, and yet not not
be
boring
naive
or corny and naive. And so I think Superman is as difficult as that, because actually, that Steve Rogers as a character is definitely from the 40s, when Superman back in the 30s was created. Yeah. And so it's easy to sort of like, okay, truth, justice, and the American way, they have to get that right, and I think James Gunn might have a vision for that. And his and if you're going to put them all in the same world, and I think they should, then you need someone with a vision.
We just discussed it here, but we've learned that Henry Cavill's Superman and The Rock's Black Adam are not in the plans for the future of the DCU. There are some platitudes of like hey, we'll do a project together in the future. Okay, yes.
Well, there's talk, right, that Jason Momoa is not going to be playing Aquaman. He'll be playing Lobo.
Right,
which,
right.
You know,
potentially. That's
I don't know Lobo that well. I know him a little bit. And it seems like it's a good casting to me.
Yeah.
You know, they might not do it, but you know,
I guess it wouldn't be that odd. It would be maybe James Gunn odd to literally bring back all of the actors, but recast all of them as other. Henry Cavill's there, but he's now playing whatever Jimmy Olsen. You're like, what? So it seems clear that there is a reboot in the works, and it seems like they're gonna try to reboot with younger actors. They're gonna go with younger versions of these characters. For instance, we get the James Gunn mentioned he's working on a script for Superman.
Yes,
and it's a younger Superman, but not like little kid in Smallville Superman.
Yeah, not Superboy.
He's working at the
That's
Daily
the name
Planet,
of the character.
You know.
Yes.
So probably like Superman in his 20s. There was also then talk, I maybe made the connection that maybe wasn't there, but I was like, oh, because there was this talk of like, Gunn apparently reached out to Matt Reeves about working with that version of Batman, you know, Robert Pattinson's version of Batman, obviously younger.
Right.
But apparently Reeves didn't care for the idea of trying to connect his film to the wider DCEU.
Fire him! Oh, I mean,
maybe. Gal Gadot's future is still uncertain, though Patty Jenkins is apparently no longer directing the next Wonder Woman movie. There was some back and forth about who quit whom, but the result is that Patty Jenkins appears to be out as the Wonder Woman director. If I had to guess, if he's recasting all these other parts, it seems like he'd recast Wonder Woman as well.
No, if he's recasting, you know, I know that, you know, people want to get upset. And you could easily say that, wow, why are you throwing out everything? Because the audience certainly will remember all of these characters and actors or whatever.
Yep.
But if you're starting anew, you know,
there's a couple of issues that have come up. One is that obviously under the current canon, there are still 2 films that are set to be released.
Yes.
And apparently are still going to be released. Maybe we'll learn more about that in January. But at the moment, The Flash set to be released on June 16th.
Mm-hmm.
And then Aquaman 2 is set to be released on Christmas Day. So almost literally a year from now.
Wow, okay.
You know, we're going to get essentially the last film of the old regime. So come 2024, it's new. Now, given that Ezra Miller is the Flash and Amber Heard is in Aquaman 2, there's likely going to be a fair amount of controversy surrounding those films.
Sure.
As well. But, so 2024 brings the Peter Gunn era. It seems like, if I had to guess, because, you know, Gunn's already mentioned this idea of this younger Superman script that he's writing. I would guess that's probably maybe the first film in his new canon. Like he's going to write and direct it, and then that would be the thing.
Unless he likes how the development of a different property has been going so far, so he might decide, you know what, this is closer than Superman is, and I like the cut of this jib. So
that's a good point. Okay, but let's assume for a second.
Possible. But no, you're probably right. That everything is dramatically different, and therefore, it will. No one will beat Superman to the punch.
And hey, I like that. And so let's assume for a second that whatever spring, summer, we'll say whatever June of 2024. We'll throw it out there. That the Superman movie comes out. It is the first film in Gunn's new direction for DCU. Think of the pressure that's going to. How much is riding on that movie?
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Woo!
Definitely. Yeah.
Oh, my God. There'll be a lot of folks wanting to see Gunn fail.
That's true.
That group.
Yep.
The pressure will be on. But the pressure that you accept, I think, as a creative. You're like, let's do this.
Yes.
This is what I live for. So, wow. A lot of, it's similar, I suppose. It's different as well, frankly, but it's similar to the original Iron Man coming out like, oh, will this be something that leads into other comic book movies, at the time, it was like, oh, it was kind of taking a chance. I mean, when Iron Man came out and Robert Downey Jr. was in it,
was definitely taking a chance.
Okay,
really, a lot of people hadn't really heard of Iron Man before then. The comic fans had, so they could recognize his importance.
Robert Downey Jr. was like, hey, that guy that was in jail.
Yeah, they had to convince the studio to go with him. And two, also, you read about the beginning of Marvel. They took out loans, so they could really start as their own studio. And of course, it paid off. But
it paid off.
James Gunn is an excellent example of the people looking at them like they're crazy, because when he came out with Guardians of the Galaxy, people were like, "Who?
Right.
Okay, a tree and a raccoon."
And it's if you don't take chances, then you never know. So I like the fact that they're kind of rolling the dice, because it does feel like this particular canon has run its course. It's not some weird upturn that's suddenly going to happen where it's like, hey, and it's awesome now. It's like, okay, let's find something new.
Yeah, they tried to do it all at once, and they, for some reason, they were sticking with Snyder, and it's hard for me to understand why.
I mean, he's got his devotees, for sure.
Yes, he certainly does. He certainly does.
But yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of. I like Man of Steel. I think more than you did, perhaps even. But I thought that was I thought it was
fine.
Snyder,
but I thought it was fine. But I mean, again,
right? Is
it
that
didn't
Superman
set the world on fire? It wasn't. It wasn't Iron Man.
So the other kind of issue, other than the fact that they've got this year where they're going to be showing films from the old canon first.
Yes.
The other issue is that, obviously James Gunn's already done some projects in what would be called the old canon. He's done Suicide Squad, and he did the Peacemaker season 1, which apparently at the time there was still talk of season 2 coming out.
Right.
So,
right. Sure.
So a lot of people are like, hey, in fact, this got asked on Twitter, and the answer was not very definitive. So the question was basically like, hey, are you getting rid of everyone else but keeping your projects, keeping Suicide Squad and Peacemaker? And so his response, I did the quote here. It says, I keep seeing posts with this untrue theory. We're not recasting everyone except Suicide Squad. What a weird way to put it. So in other words, because you know what? We're keeping Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor as well. So there, see? We're fine. I know what you're talking about. So, yeah, the way he phrased it is odd. You think if he was going to be clear about it, he'd just say, yeah, we are keeping Suicide Squad. Or, nope, I'm going to get rid of everything. But he's like, no, we're not recasting everyone.
Yeah, see, there you go. You're wrong.
I'm like, what? Okay, what? So, and that's a weird scenario. On the surface, like my first reaction when I hear, let's assume for a second that we get to 2024, James Gunn's got his new plan in effect, and lo and behold, the Peacemaker season 3 is out, and his wife is in it. So my first reaction is like, that's kind of a bad look, because, of course the thing I chose last, but I kick out everything else. On the other hand, I do think of they brought him in because they wanted his ideas.
Yep.
These were his ideas.
Yep.
So, it's not the craziest thing to think the guy that you brought in to change things will use his ideas. I don't know. I think on the balance, it would probably be better for him to just start over completely. But I can understand a little bit of that impulse if he does decide, you know what, let's stick with the piece. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think that again, if he brings back actors, at least a few in the same roles, and actually he didn't cast Margot Robbie, so if he brought her back just because he's worked with her, But yeah, if he chose some other individuals to stay in those roles that they were cast, that's not change everyone.
Because there are rumors that is the case, right? There's some rumors like Viola Davis is apparently, but these are rumors. I think we're going to know a lot more in January. But
yeah, and that's I think part of the reason why he's you can't blame him for not saying, "Oh no, here's the plan now."
Right. Right.
I mean, you would rather him just shut the fuck up.
Yeah, exactly. He is he's always been. It's gotten him in some hot water at times. But he's been a very vocal presence in social media. And so he's kind of embracing that role with the D. He's like, all right. So he is kind of going back and forth at folks online. And personally, it's not the way I would have done it, right? If I was in his position, I'd be like, I'm just going to shut up and let the work talk.
But would you have done it earlier?
Like, in other words, would my advice be to James Gunn to not be on social media even earlier?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So there you go.
I'm just not a big devotee of social media, frankly. But yeah. So right, he lives in that world. He lives.
Yes. He's willing to engage in that way, and people like that about him.
Correct.
So I think he does want to leverage that,
right?
Even in this new phase, without being someone who isn't true to himself.
Yeah, I kind of feel like the version of him where it's like the James Gunn, who's a kind of a cavalier director. Okay, maybe that persona is more a social media guy. The guy who's like, I'm head of an agency, or kind of that guy. Maybe that profession isn't necessarily as best suited for, fighting people on Twitter. But maybe not. That's his thing. That's his brand. So go get him, guy.
It's not like he's Elon Musk.
Right.
You say fighting, and he's talking.
Yes.
He's refuting things that he doesn't agree with.
In fact, somebody asked him whether Deathstroke would be part of the new DCEU.
Well, right.
And he kind of cryptically responded, could be. You take that for what it's worth, but Deathstroke seems like the kind of character that he would like to bring in, frankly. I think generally this is a positive. I just feel like we're going to know what the direction is, I think.
Yeah, presumably in January, I guess we're going to,
we're not going to palpably, go like, oh, that's what this is until, over a year from now, maybe 2 years from now, something like that. Yeah, there's a lot of drama going on about it, but I do feel like it's not a terrible move. I don't think this is a terrible idea on behalf of DC to do this. So
no, not at all.
So I like you. I'm intrigued to see what this new DC universe looks like through the lens and the mind of James Gunn. I'm good with that.
Yeah. I think I've said my piece.
All right, excellent.
My peacemaker.
I love it. So we'll be back talking about The Peripheral, the final 4 episodes of that. We're also going to be talking about the show, The Lazarus Project.
Yes.
That's the one. And so, cool sci-fi that's been brought over from the BBC. Is that correct, Paul?
England, at least. I don't know if they produced...
It was the BBC or not. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll be talking about all of that and more. Thanks, everybody. And happy holidays to everybody. Happy holidays to you, Paul.
Thank you, and to you and yours as well.
And we'll talk to everybody next time.
Bye.